there. It is Lora Cheadle here, life choreographer and purveyor of sparkle. And I just wanted to check in with you today, bring a little bit of joy and happiness your way. And the reason that I wanted to do that is because I've been hearing from so many people lately that they're struggling. Not with one specific problem per se, it's just this general sense of unhappiness and ungroundedness. And like I like to say, they've lost their sparkle. They feel disconnected with themselves and with others. And even though they know they should be doing something about whatever it is that's kind of bothering them, their bodies or their jobs or their relationships, they actually lack the motivation to do that. It doesn't really matter if it's the state of the world, because things are really weird right now, or if it's some personal event, like maybe you are about to go through a divorce, or that you've had some sort of a job loss or a diagnosis, or maybe it's even like me right now doing some empty nesting. It could even be the buildup of disappointments from literally the last 20 years. Um, it doesn't really matter what it is, it all manifests the same way. When we experience something like this, it moves you into a state of fight, flight, or freeze. And when you're in a state of fight, flight, or freeze, you feel anxious, you feel confused, and you don't know what to do next. So, what happens? Well, as a hypnotherapist, I'll tell you exactly what happens. You go right into that default behavior mode, which means you do what is the path of least resistance. You do what you've always done or what you've been trained to do, which is for most of us a whole heck of a lot of people pleasing or internalizing the problem and thinking that we can suddenly fix ourselves and that we'll fix what's wrong and that if we could only take care of it, then everything around us is going to change. Now, I want to say again, from my background as a hypnotherapist, it is impossible to fix anything from a state of fight, flight, or freeze because you were not in the rational part of your brain. You were literally in the brain stem, and anything that you do from that position just isn't going to work well. So what happens is you collapse, you get into a state of overwhelm, and you get paralyzed, which is the freeze state. Or you start getting like really jazzed up and hyperactive and blah, 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 and you just fly into action and you start doing all of these things, which oftentimes ends up being the wrong thing. That is a state of fight. Or, this is my favorite one, you drink wine and you binge watch Netflix. That's actually a state of flight because you're running away and you're saying, I can't deal with this problem now, so I'm not going to. Now, none of those actions produce the results that you want. So what happens? Once again, you move into that default state of internalizing. You start thinking that everything is your own fault. And then pretty soon, you find yourself lying in bed, obsessing over every mistake or decision that you've made for like the past 30 years. Okay, tell me if you've been there because it's not a fun place to be. And what happens is then you start going further and further down into this self-judgment spiral, and you lose confidence in yourself. You lose confidence in your abilities. Even though you've done amazing things and you've gotten yourself this far in life, suddenly you think, I can't do anything right. And then you start thinking that you're broken, that you can't trust yourself, that you can never pick a good partner and you can never pick a good job and you don't know the right thing to do with your kids, blah, 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 blah. And then you start that self-talk that everything is going to turn out wrong. And what happens is life slowly ceases to be fun. You dread going to work. You hate on your body. Doesn't matter if it's your thighs or your stomach or your weight or your shape, you start hating on your body and your crow's feet and your hair, blah, 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 blah. And then the relationships that are supposed to be bringing you joy and connection end up feeling stressful or unfulfilling. So you'll spend time connecting with people and you'll walk away thinking that didn't bring me joy. That's how losing your sparkle happens. That's why it happens. And it's totally normal. Women have lost their sparkle for years. And I promise you, you are not broken and it's not your fault. as a woman, you are conditioned to please. You are conditioned to seek approval outside of yourself. And because we're women, we are used to doing more in order to be seen equal. So instead of loving our lives, living to the fullest, you modulate yourself. You try to prove your worth over and over again. One of my favorite quotes is the one about Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Sure, he was great, but she did everything he did backwards and in high heels, which is so true. We are all living our lives backwards and in high heels. And until you turn around, face forward, and put on shoes that you can actually maneuver in, and maybe stilettos are your jam, that's okay. But until you do what works for you and you take the lead in your own life, you're going to struggle. And finding and living your sparkle is going to be really tough. I want to check in and see if you've lost your sparkle. And I'm going to do that by asking you a series of 8 questions. 1, are you managing life okay on the outside? But do you feel like an imposter or a hot mess on the inside? Number 2, do you routinely fight down some sort of stress or anxiety, which means you have trouble making decisions because you don't want to get it wrong? Number 3, have you ever had a moment where you were filled with regret, where suddenly you were afraid that you missed out on love, or that this was as good as life was going to get, and that you've waited too long to do what you've really wanted to do, or that you've messed your kids up and it's all awful? Kind of that whole doomsday thing. 4, we're halfway there. Have you ever wished that life was different, that you had no idea what it was that you did want to do? Number 5, have you ever felt so tired and discouraged from getting knocked down that you didn't even want to have hope or try something new because you didn't think you could handle another disappointment or another failure? Number 6, despite your efforts to stay positive or look on the bright side, do you find yourself feeling resentful or disillusioned or bitter or even like a victim in your own life? 7, do you have trouble finding your footing or staying balanced in life? And then lastly, have you ever looked back on your life, on your relationships, and realized that you spent an inordinate amount of time trying to get better, trying to prove that you were good enough, and trying to live up to the standards of either other people or of institutions that routinely undervalued or underestimated you? Now, if you've answered yes to 4 or more of those questions, I'm pretty sure you have lost your sparkle. There have been so many times in my own life that I was truly afraid that I messed it up so badly that I either wanted to burn my life down and just start it all fresh, or I wanted to run away. And I will not kidding you. There were times where literally the only thing holding me back was the knowledge that when I did leave, or if I did burn it all down, putting it all back together would be my responsibility. And that it would be so much harder to do that than it was just to struggle and try to keep all the balls in the air and keep it together in the first place. I'm owning up to this, but I was a bit of a martyr. And I'm guessing that there are several other martyrs out there who can totally relate. Now, I spent my whole life being a good girl who did it all right. I put off fun until the work was done. I got the right degree. I did the marriage kids, 2.5 kids, white picket fence, all of that. I did everything for everybody else, often at my own expense. I got really good at biting my tongue and smiling through the pain. And I suppressed a lot of my own desires in an attempt to please because I wanted to avoid being stereotyped or judged. Instead of owning my worth and being comfortable and confident with who I was, or even standing in my own power and allowing myself to sparkle as freely and as brightly as I could, I routinely sought to change or to fix myself. And the result was that it made me exhausted and dull. All humans, all of us, I don't care who you are, we're all born to sparkle. And losing your sparkle is really, truly part of the female experience. Now, it took me a good 10 or maybe even 20 years to figure out how to really break free of that cycle and to sparkle authentically, but I did figure it out. And because I figured it out, I'm absolutely able to teach you how to. The answer, surprisingly, is not more self-help. Oh my gosh, you do not need any more self-help. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what you've been through. If you've lost your sparkle, I can show you how to find it. Using the secrets that I'm going to teach you over the next 3 days, you will be able to let go of that need to please. You will be able to stop suppressing your true identity and conforming to the world around you. You will be able to quit doing everything for everyone else and start being who you are. So you can step back into your own power, your own sovereignty, so you can own your worth and reclaim that enthusiasm and joy that you had for life when you were a kid. Finding your sparkle is really about being seen and loved for who you are, not for who you think you should be. And no matter how much of a hot mess you think you are right now, no matter how overwhelmed you feel, no matter how much you doubt your ability to sparkle again, I can get you there. Would that be worth less than 30 minutes a day for the next 3 days to learn that? I thought it would. So, what I want you to do is watch your inbox for the next 3 days, because each day I will send you a link to that day's video. We'll start tomorrow with video number 1. And that video is called How to Connect with the Most Powerful Gift Every Woman is Born with. So you can reclaim your sparkle no matter who you are or what's going on in your life. I hope you have an amazing day. I will see you tomorrow.